Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today to uncover the secrets of Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty, a topic which raises a lot of questions still, and we want to stop that you need to raise these questions. Also, if you now heard the term sovereignty and it triggered into you that this is only like public sector stuff and you can now stop listening, please stay tuned because this is not only about public sector. All right, so I'm Florian. I'm a cloud automation team lead based in Germany. And today I have here Thibault and Hamza, who are together with me and our Devoteam Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty team. And now I give you some space to introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Florian. And I'm Thibault Gibard. I'm from our Devoteam office in France, in Paris. And I'm a cloud solution architect for all the projects that we can have with our customers on Azure and cloud subject. And also on the sovereignty questions that we are starting to see more and more coming in our project.
Thank you, Florian. My name is Hamza Al-Khadir. I'm based in our offices in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and I'm a lead cloud consultant working with our solution, Cloud Enabler for Sovereignty.
Great. So we are a very international team, and thank you for coming all the way to wonderful Brussels today to talk with me in person this time about Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty. All right. So for all you listeners as well, we as Devoteam, we are also contributing to the whole initiative, Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty with Microsoft. We are, in fact, we have direct contact to the product group over at Microsoft. And there is also a GitHub repository called Sovereign Landing Zone, which we talk about in a bit. And here we are also actively contributing.
Absolutely. And all the stuff that we will discuss about Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty initiative, which is interesting, you can check all the content and all the R&D and all the developments that have been made by the Microsoft product teams directly from the GitHub repository. So it's quite a good initiative and it's quite cool that it's provided at no cost.
Right. It's a lot of fun and meaningful for our customers. Devoteam is an EMEA company, so we're committed to our clients in Middle East and Europe.
Wow, that's great. So I think now it's clear for everyone that we are the best partner to go with.
It's obvious. It's obvious.
Well, want to do or need to go with Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty. So now let's try to understand a bit better. So what does it mean? Like it's saying Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty. Like is this like another cloud, like another Azure, or what do I need to understand about this?
No, it's not. It's not a new cloud data center or new stuff like that. It's an initiative that Microsoft is working since 2022. So it's not. It's not old, but it's not new neither. It's something that Microsoft has started to work since a year now, and it went general availability since the end of 2023. And Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty kit is a set and a group of recommendations and best practices and script and so on that will help companies and customers to build and to go further in terms of security to answer to all the sovereignty concerns that you can have in your company. That means it will help you to meet finally sovereignty expectations that you can have from your government in your country, but also because of your industry sector, for example, finance and so on. In specific sector, you have to be careful when you go in a cloud on the amount of time you will retain data, the amount of time you will do some backup. All this information are specific, and Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty want to help us by proposing some Azure policies, some Azure dashboard to help you to deploy all this security component, for example, encryption, and so on. And with also the Azure dashboard, you will be able to follow and to be sure that all your team are respecting this security question and all these sovereignty concerns that you can have in your company.
Yeah, it also integrates additional capabilities like confidential compute that gives an extra layer of security from third-party breaches and data residency, for example, or also customer managed keys where organizations can take full control on how they do their encryption processes.
Okay, wow. So to recap and make it very clear, so like this is not like a sovereign cloud region, like this is really public Azure, like the data centers most of our customers already are using, or data regions. And MCFS is like a collection of services and best practices to achieve that goal.
Yes, correct.
Cool. So if we drill a bit more in, like how does this help our customers?
Okay, so this helps our customers by giving them this capability to stay compliant with the regulations and laws that they have within their countries.
Sounds great.
Yep.
So that also means like that not only public sector is included, right? Like this is not only a topic for public sector customers, but like for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. So this is not exclusive to governments or public sector clients, but to anyone who wishes to address this sovereignty topic and have this control over this their IT system deployed within the Azure cloud. So yeah, it's not really only for public sector clients or ministries. Could be healthcare, finance, or even private organizations.
And depending on the type of organizations that you are running, you may want to go further. That means Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty is a first step, but you can need to go further. And we can also speak about Azure Confidential Computing Initiative, which is the possibility to create some containers, some VM, and in fact any workload in the Microsoft Cloud by running your compute directly on specific hosts, on specific servers that will be built with some new chips that are highly secured and are provided thanks to a partnership that has been created with all the main chips providers such as NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and that will allow us to run some compute task on a more secure hardware. So it's a very important stuff when we are speaking about security and sovereignty question.
Yeah, and also like this is one part, right? This service, confidential compute, is one part of the best practice set of Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty. So when I'm talking to customers, a question always, which is always asked regarding confidential compute, is if it is more expensive.
Yeah, that's a very relevant question. But the truth is, Microsoft used to charge a premium on confidential compute VMs, which is no longer the case today. So you can have this extra layer of security and encryption on your data with the same cost as it would be for a regular VM. So this is good news for people who want to take their landing zones and their cloud infrastructure with this extra layer of sovereignty.
That sounds great. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a new additional layer of security. As Hamza said, it will be provided at no cost if we are comparing it to a standard virtual machine or a standard container. But Microsoft will be in the future also further because in a previous conference, a CTO from Microsoft in France told us that, in fact, confidential computing will be the base on all the resources that will be run inside an Azure data center. That means all the VM and containers you will run in the future will be running on specific hardwares that will be more secure thanks to the partnership with Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, as we mentioned it before. So it's very cool.
Wow, I mean, that's great news, right? It's also great news for being secure by default.
It is.
And it means for our customers already using public Azure that eventually with that they don't have to do anything and will be more protected, more secured in the future. Sometimes there are also additional questions, like if this will have like a performance impact if you're using confidential compute.
Yes. Well, in most scenarios, you will not notice a difference, okay? Because your workloads will run most probably as smoothly as on regular VMs. However, for heavy memory workloads, you might experience some slowdowns with the real-time encryption happening within the confidential compute resource. But in most scenarios with our customers, you will not face, any drawbacks on using confidential compute resources.
So basically, until you don't have any really specific workload, it should be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talking about workloads, I think also a question which pops up often at customers is, what do I need to do to migrate my workloads to confidential compute or confidential compute VMs?
Obviously, as we said before, even it's a specific hardware, it will be possible to migrate, for example, from an old virtual machine or a standard virtual machine to Azure Confidential Compute. And in fact, already today, you can already start to create a confidential compute VM or a container because in fact, it's not something more complicated. You don't need complicated skills. You will just go, for example, inside the Azure portal and you will be able to select not a standard virtual machine, but you will be able to choose Azure Confidential Computing to create a confidential computing resource. So it's quite easy and it's something you can already try from today inside your Azure portal.
And if we then want to talk about, okay, now I did that, now I have my workload in a confidential compute VM. So like what is now better? Like how I am more protected now?
Oh, there will be several additional security layers. For example, when you are using confidential compute, your data will be secure, will be encrypted, and this data won't be accessible, obviously, to your cloud administrators. That means that even the people that are supposed administering your virtual machine or container won't be able to go inside your data and see the stuff that is running, for example, a website or anything like this. So it's very interesting in terms of security.
Right, so you protect your data from the cloud providers and from your internal admins as well. So.
Okay, I think here the important thing we should really mention for our listeners is that like the data which is in use, which like is being processed by the CPU, which is in memory, can't be accessed by the cloud provider, which is technical possible if you're not using confidential compute, which shouldn't happen, but it's always about like going the next step, right? Like I want to mitigate now also that someone could do a memory dump, like who has access to the hardware, and like this means like even like Microsoft Cloud operators, if someone would be bribed to try to get content out of it, they couldn't read it, right?
It won't be possible.
Yeah.
And it's not something new because in fact, for example, if you are choosing to use confidential compute based on Intel SGX platform, it's something that Microsoft is working with Intel since 2020.
As you're mentioning on this SGX technology, I think that's also known as app enclaves, right?
Absolutely.
Then I have a follow-up question on that. If I want to use app enclaves, do I have to do anything or can I just do lift and shift as with the other option we explained?
No, it's something you will be able to use in the future directly for your new virtual machine or your new containers that you would have created with Azure Confidential capability.
So, okay, so there might be something you need to do extra on top to use these app enclaves.
Absolutely.
But then you say then even your own administrators of your VM or container Kubernetes administrators of your company can't anymore read the data.
No, absolutely. They won't be able to read the data inside your confidential resources.
That sounds very sophisticated. Okay, so then let's talk a bit more about like our personal experience we had like working with customers on Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about the technical aspects of things, but from experience, the main concern that is happening within clients is the legal aspects of things, is how do they can be compliant with the set of regulations and laws where the clients are regulated, and how the technical capabilities of Microsoft Azure can answer those legal constraints. And we've been working closely with the legal firms to kind of make this analogy, right? And this is where the difficulty resides more than the technical part.
Right, because like normally we know the tech, right? But then there comes the law and compliance in between, and
here we need some help.
Yeah, there we need definitely some help. I think it's also like very, very interesting on that note. Understand totally what you mean. Like for me personally, there's also a big gap like between like the law and the regulations and that what we can provide from a technology point of view. Like for me, it's if you look at it, some regulations say, okay, your data center needs to be, I don't know, in your town or your country, yeah, and then you are compliant, or like by law you are, let's say, safe, or like if something happens, you are everything was okay, you did the right thing. But if I think about that, and we talked about this sophisticated confidential compute technology, so if I think about it from a technical point of view, I can run my workload somewhere in US, and like often like with this compliance and regulations, often US is they have a lot of laws and they can read a lot of data if they want, or if the government requests it. But I could like run my data there, process it there, and they just can't technically, like even if someone would give them the data, it's encrypted, they can't do anything with it. So personally, I think it's even more protected there than in like a normal data center where I have my own server without confidential compute in my country. But there is that difference, right, between what law requires or compliance requires and what we can do technically.
Yeah, well, this is where we bring value, right? Is closing in this gap between the legal and the technical aspects of things.
And the thing that is also important in the Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty approach is Microsoft is proposing inside its Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty kit something that you will be able to configure and to deploy in all your subscription or in all the tenants that you are using. Whatever you have preferred to using West Europe, North Europe, or any Microsoft Azure data center location. So it's not something that will be available only on a specific location. It's not obviously the same approach for all the cloud providers. We have started to see, for example, that some competitors will probably create some what we are calling dedicated local zone inside their public data center. But with Microsoft approach, it's something that will be available right now because the repository on GitHub is public and it's available for free from the end of 2023. So you can already have a look. But even if you are working in a specific Azure data center location, you will be able to use and to deploy this recommendation and best practices. So it's quite cool.
Yeah, and I think that's really that's really important to note here, because I, as a matter of fact, was working with a big player in the recruiting industry lately on Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty, and they, for example, have the challenge that since they are working internationally, they don't only need to comply to one country compliance, but they have to do that for every country. They are using Azure heavily, but they are using like that they can have this distribution all over the world in all the Azure regions. And for them, it's really important now, together with us, to understand the country compliance regulations and data residency regulations. That's like their main point at the moment for now. And there it helps, of course. They don't need to wait for some special sovereign cloud regions. They can just leverage what they have. They can just apply these policies on their existing workloads in public Azure, because it's like just the normal public Azure. Yeah. And then they start to getting insights. So for them, it's important to be compliant. But first of all, it's now necessary for them, because like in big enterprises, there's a lot happening, right? You can't control everything. And that's about where they start. Now they applied these policies for each country, which are relevant, and now they're getting insights. They now see, okay, where are we compliant? Where do we need to rework? And that's the first step to getting the visibility and then getting better step by step.
And it will depend, as you said before, depending on the company, depending on the activity sector, depending on the country and so on. And that's why for specific scenario, obviously Devoteam can help on this subject, but we will also integrate and involve legal teams from directly your company or a legal consulting firm when it's needed, if you want to be sure that we are compliant with a specific regulation.
Right, I think we are the technical people, and from law we sometimes need to get a bit help. So I think it's a very great idea that we team up with these legal firms as well. Regarding like these country specifics, is there anything we need to highlight as well from a Devoteam perspective?
Yes, absolutely. Depending on your project, depending on what you are trying to do for your company, Devoteam can help you. It can be a project, it can be a proof of concept if you want to have a better overview about Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty on Azure Confidential Compute. It can be also a training directly from your team. And if you want to completely delegate this type of question, we can also work with our managed services team that can, for example, help you to manage your customer managed key for your confidential compute workload and so on. So it can take several possibilities to help you on this sovereignty journey.
Great. So like even like if you're not familiar or you don't want to invest additional resources to managing like these components for better data sovereignty, you can also like do it with us as Devoteam.
Yeah, and that's why we are here, because it's something that we are working with our customer. It's something that we have already deployed. We have, for example, also since January 2024, we had another conference on this subject in France in our offices in Paris. So it's a subject that we are mastering at Devoteam, because we are working very closely with the Microsoft project teams. And we will be very pleased to help you on this type of subjects.
Our customers, they search for advice to match the regulation and the legal requirements with the technical requirements. We heard about that they are very interested, and that a lot of compliance regulations, that they are asking about data residency. We heard that a lot of customers are interested in what is the cost associated with doing Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty or having a better data sovereignty. And we also heard questions about what do I need to do to migrate my workload into this space.
And how to stay compliant with the country-specific laws and regulations. So as a concrete example, in the Dutch market, there's already a policy initiative that allows to stay compliant with the NL bio. And this allows customers to have this not only peace of mind, but staying truly compliant to this set of regulations.
And it can sound complicated, but in fact, we can understand that it's an evolving subject. That means that it's something that is new. We can read in the newspaper that United States, that Europe are regulating all the stuff in terms of cloud and cloud providers. So The only thing that we are sure right now is the regulations are coming. The regulation will be obviously different depending on the country where you are. For example, in France, we have a new certification that can be provided directly by the French Cybersecurity Agency, and that is called Devoteam Cloud. Devoteam Cloud is a certification that must be obtained if you, as the cloud provider, you are expecting to provide some solution to meet sovereignty concern of your customer and so on. And to get this certification, you have to meet a specific list of points on the way you are managing the data, the way of you are storing it, etc., etc. So, yes, it can sound complicated, but that's also the reason why Devoteam can help you on that. It's because we are already working on this type of subject with our customer on Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty, on Azure Confidential Computing, and so on. And it's also easy to understand why all the cloud providers are trying to be part of this journey. It's because we all know that it will be an important subject in the future for all the customers and the companies in the world.
Yeah, and like you said, the regulations and compliances
are coming.
They are coming and they are here to stay. So will be an interesting journey we are on with our customers all together. So thank you for your insight. Thank you, Hamza. Thank you, Thibault, for joining me today to unravel and demystify Microsoft Cloud for Sovereignty. And to all our listeners, if you got interested, if you're facing similar challenges, you want to get to know us better and talk about this highly interesting topic, please visit our website and get in touch with us. It's mcloud.devoteam.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having us.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.